Hello everyone, in this video I'll be ranking all of the best Greataxe weapons in Baldur's Gate 3 on a tier list. Now, some of these weapons are really powerful, and some of them are just okay, so I'll be going over all of the Greataxes. They're better than good axes, so the first one we got here is just the regular old Greataxe. There's two different variations of them. One of them looks obviously better than the other. This one I think just looks rinky-dink, so I'm going to put it in the roleplay tier below the other one. But next we got the Exterminator's Axe. This is available in Act 1, and what this does, it has the Scourge of Pests. So all Great Axes deal a 1d12 of damage, benefiting greatly from the Great Weapon Master, able to reroll 1s and 2s. And this deals an additional 1d6 fire damage against plants, myconids, and small creatures. So that's actually quite good because you get in Act 1, and there's quite a few of those in the game. Getting an additional damage die on attacks is quite nice. So I'd have to say this is probably the B tier choice here. Additional 1d6 fire damage is great against plants, the myconids that you'll be facing off against potentially if you want to in Act 1, and then small creatures as well. The Exterminator Axe, pretty funny of a weapon, but next we got ourselves the Blooded Greataxe. So what this does is a 1d12 plus 1 damage, and when the wielder has 12 or 50% health points or less, they deal an additional 1d4 of slashing damage. So that's quite nice, because if you're someone like a Berserker Barbarian who's going to be at a lower health, sometimes it'll benefit from this. There's also other items in the game that'll benefit if you're below 50% health, so they can kind of pair together well. I would say this is also a B tier choice. Being able to deal additional damage die whenever you're lower than 50% health is nice, but it's not always going to apply, but it does have a +1 weapon enhancement, so that's pretty good. Next, we got ourselves the Greataxe +1. So this is just a basic old Greataxe, better than the basic ones because it has that 1d12 plus 1 magical enhancement. So it goes in the C tier because it doesn't have anything extra special about it. But next we got ourselves the Undead Bane. So this deals an additional 1d6 slashing damage against fiends and undead. You get this in Act 3, so there's not that many fiends or there's not many undead, but there's a decent bit of fiends left in the game. You also get the Profane Scourge, which is a weapon action. Allows you to add your proficiency bonus to the damage roll. And if you hit a fiend or undead creature, it deals an additional 2d6 of slashing. And on top of that, possibly banes the target, giving them a disadvantage, or gives them a -1d4 to their attack rolls and saving throws. This is a pretty good axe. I might say A tier. It could be B tier since there's not many undead in the Act 3, but there's a lot of fiends, so that is one thing that you definitely will be facing off against. So the Undead Bane, if it was just against undead, it wouldn't be that great, but since it also applies to fiends too, you can get this from the Gur camp and also Cazador's dungeon if you don't manage to save, or you don't manage to get it from Alma then. So yeah, it's not bad. It honestly, adding a proficiency bonus to damage is nice. It's like a +4 to damage, and also being able to do additional damage to undead and fiends is great. But next we got the very heavy Greataxe, 1d12 plus 1, and this has the Gargantuan Cleave. So swing your weapon around with all your might. You can attack multiple targets, dealing 1d6 slashing additional damage, but become off balance for 1 turn. When you're off balance, when you're hit, you must make a DC 8 strength saving throw or fall prone. So, you know, most people are going to succeed on a DC 8 strength saving throw that would use this weapon. So getting off balance might not be such a bad thing, but it's still obviously not ideal. But the Gargantuan Cleave is pretty nice because it does hit for additional damage. It does do, so cleaves do half your normal damage, but then it adds an additional 1d6 damage on top of that, so that's kind of nice. The maximum number you can hit is 3 with this, so it picks the closest 3 from you. But yeah, it's a little bit different than the normal off balance because it applies to yourself and lasts until your next turn to attack. So that could be bad if you're on the defensive side and get hit, but again, it's a DC 8 strength saving throw, so not too bad. But you can apply multiple different damage dies to this, so I'd have to say the very heavy Greataxe is probably like a B tier, maybe A tier, but I'm going to throw it in the B tier just to be safe there. Next, we got the Defender Greataxe. This does a 1d12 plus 2 damage. When making the first attack in a round, you can reduce your weapon enhancement by 1 to increase your armor class and saving throw by 1. So that can be really nice because it has a +2 enhancement. Losing 1 damage die to get 1 armor class and 1 saving throw is pretty good, honestly. So that is the defensive attack passive feature. You get to choose to use that. I think that is actually pretty good. So I'll put it in the A tier. It can be good on like if you got like someone that needs to have a higher armor class. Being able to boost that and saving throws by 1 is a nice extra balance to that, because it is a +2 weapon. So it's still going to be a magical enhanced weapon, but it's great if you already have a great hit chance. So yeah. Next we have the Greataxe +2, which you can get in the counting house. So it's available very late in Act 2. You're probably not going to use this because there's other things like the Defender Greataxe that exist. So I'm going to put it at the bottom of the B tier. There's actually a lot of +2 weapons that are only available at the very final fight in the game or are from the counting house, which is kind of funny. So yeah, I'm going to put it in the B tier there. But next we're getting into 2 of my favorites. So this weapon here, the Sethan. So this is a cool looking weapon. That's what it looks like there. But it has 2 benefits. It has this Sethan Spiritual Greataxe. So you can summon a spiritual twin of Sethan, dealing additional 4 to 25 force damage on hit. So it hits pretty hard, and force damage is a nice damage type. So there it is. Doesn't look exactly like the same weapon it says it is, but it has 36 health. That's pretty nice. And it has a lacerate, which deals 3d8 +1 bludgeoning and +2 force damage. And it can possibly make the target bleed. Then also has the Greataxe Slash. It says it, I think the tooltip may be incorrect. It deals, I guess we can test it right now. It's supposed to deal force damage, but it's applied as, I can't target self. Let's see here. It does the force damage. So it says bludgeoning, but it is just force damage, which are pretty similar damage types, honestly. If you have a target that's frozen, the force damage will be extra effective against it. So yeah, it deals force damage despite the tooltip saying it does bludgeoning damage. But it also has the ability to shrink yourself. So set and reduce, so you can turn someone smaller there. So let's make Minsk tiny Minsk. So cool effects. It makes a creature smaller, deals 1d4 less damage, disadvantage on strength saving throws and saving throws. So there we go. Tiny Minsk, pretty funny. I think that the Sethan axe is actually really great. So I would put that up in the S tier, being able to turn someone tiny and also have a summoning. Honestly, like the bonus action availability of the Spiritual Greataxe makes it a great weapon for a lot of classes, because some don't have a use for their bonus action, and that is a great use for it. So also being able to turn people tiny is hilarious. But next we have the Hellfire Greataxe. I don't know if I have it in my inventory right now. No, it's in a chest. But the Hellfire Greataxe is an interesting one. So what it does is it deals a 1d12 +2 damage. In addition to that, it also deals an additional 1d6 of fire damage. Another thing about this is it has the Hellfire Cleave. So actually, I'll get to that in a second. The Thermodynamo, which is its effect. Whenever you deal damage with this weapon, you gain 2 turns of heat. Heat makes you take 1d4 fire damage, and then you can use the heat convergence to turn it into extra fire damage on your next attack, which is quite nice. If you're going for like a heat build, that can be pretty good, but heat builds are a little bit tough to make actually work properly, I find, because you're taking damage, one, but also there's other options to go with. So that is okay. But the Hellflame Cleave is its best action. So it's a weapon action granted by it. Basically, it does a cleave, but the cleave does your normal weapon damage, opposed to the great, very heavy Greataxe doing only half your damage. This does full damage plus a 2d6 of fire damage. The only issue is this can be counterspelled, believe it or not. It doesn't really count as a spell, but you can, get it counterspelled. It'll also create Hellfire in the area, which deals can potentially deal 66 of fire damage, so that's really nice being able to apply that. But it also doesn't use your extra attack. So if you use this, your turn's over. If you're a fighter with 3 attacks, that means you lose out on 1 or 2 of your attacks. So that kind of sucks. Yeah, and it's classified as a cantrip, so that's why it gets counterspelled. But you can do careful spell, like sorcerers can use this and apply like heightened magic, subtle spell, and quicken spell. So you can use this as a bonus action if you're a sorcerer, which is kind of an interesting little benefit. And it'll also give the Eldritch Knights war magic applied, because it does count as a cantrip. And it can also be cast while silenced. So pretty decent. I would say it's also an S tier choice, but it's one that you're going to want to be like picking and choosing when you use, because you're going to set yourself on fire, number one. But your weapon action also doesn't count as a weapon attack. It counts as a spell or cantrip. So that is something to keep in mind with that axe there. But overall, the axes in this game are pretty strong. I'll just go check my bin here to see if it's in here, but I don't know where it'd be. I think I have it stored somewhere else, but hard to keep track of all the items that you get in this game. But yeah, just a quick scan through. I don't see it there, but the Hellfire Greataxe is really great for the fire damage, but it's perfect for Karlach because she's going to be invulnerable, or she's going to be resistant to the fire damage. So I would recommend using that on her. But there are the best Greataxes in Baldur's Gate 3. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.